Hey guys! Waiting for some people to get in here. Hey! Let me see if I can add. I'm waiting for Miss Janee to go ahead and join the live so we can get started. Let me go ahead and see. Let me see if I send it to her. How y'all doing tonight? We are about to get started. I'm just waiting for Miss Janee to go ahead and join us. Hey! Have y'all been listening to that new Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce? I've been listening to it all day. Now I'm trying to learn the Savage TikTok dance. Right now, I've been watching YouTube videos all day, and I'm still working on it. I got like the very first part, and then the last part when they're like, okay. I got that part. All right, y'all. So we are seeing if she comes on so we can get started. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. I'm seeing who we got in here so I can add. I'm waiting for her to join. She's texting me back right now, so we're figuring it out. She said she's getting in right now so we can get started. Yay! Okay, let me see if I can do it. Hey! I think I got it. Y'all know Instagram be tripping. It's connecting. Hey!
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I was trying to use my iPad, but it's literally on like 8%, so I'm on
Mm.
my phone.
Oh, it's okay.
I just
Everything's
gotta hold it.
yeah, I know that's the thing. I had to work to position mine today, but how are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's great. So
How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. Just stuck in the house doing nothing, but it's okay.
Oh, I see my friend Elle.
Hi, Elle. Okay, so I'm going to start off by reading your bio because
Okay.
I think that it's worth noting. Janee originally hails from Birmingham, Alabama, but her childhood was spent in College Park, Georgia, Brookline, Massachusetts, and Iowa City, Iowa, before attending college in New York City. A hip hop buff and avid lover of words, Janee graduated magna cum laude from New York University with a bachelor's degree in English and a minor in Africana Studies. She also earned her MFA in fiction from NYU's creative writing program before launching a career as an entertainment journalist. In addition to her current position as senior content director, right? Senior content director.
Yeah, senior
Yeah,
content director.
of Bossip. Janee has produced several panels related to her career as a female entertainment writer and entrepreneur, a skilled moderator, and public speaker. Janee has hosted events for numerous artists and enjoys partaking in just about every kind of cultural experience, whether it be film, art, fashion, or music related. So thank you so much for joining the Spelman College Women in Hip Hop Collective tonight. We're excited to get to know you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I know I just read your bio, but tell me a little bit more about yourself and how you got started in the entertainment industry.
Well, initially, I had a lot of friends who worked in the industry. I went to NYU. One of my best friends was interning for Star Trek.
Mhm.
Um, well, I think she interned for Arista and she ended up getting a job at Star Trek. So that was my introduction to the industry, like just
Yeah.
going everywhere with her.
Mhm.
Um, Her name is Nicole Planton. She's with Rostrum Records now as an A&R. And she definitely being her plus one, I definitely, and that's how I started meeting a lot of people, going to different events. And I would tell people I was a writer, but I was more of a creative writer. As you can see from my bio, I have
Mhm.
an MFA, so I
Mhm.
always wanted to write books. I never was like, I loved magazines, but I never was like, oh, that's my dream
Yeah.
job or any of that. I just wanted to write. And people, society will tell you like, this type of job, just prepare, you're not going to make a lot of money, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. So with that mindset, I always thought, okay, I'm going to have to like have a plan B. So like I'll work a job and I'll try to write on the side.
Mhm.
And that's really what I was doing at first. And eventually my family was like, just leave New York where it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Come south where it's a little, better, um, easier to like make a
Mhm.
living. And ironically, I left New York and within like 2 months had a job offer to write professionally. So
Mhm.
I basically left, and um, Rashawn Hall, who is another journalist, he's with Music Choice now. He and
Okay.
I had gone to NYU together. He was a year ahead of me. And from NYU, he had gone on to write for MTV and Billboard. And he ended up working for a website called SOHH, which is like the main competition
Mhm.
for all hip hop.
Mhm.
And they were looking for a news writer. So that was my first job.
So did you know from young that you wanted to work in music, or was it something that you kind of gravitated to once you started working with your friend?
I was one of those kids that was always super into music. Like as a little kid, I like definitely one of my most memorable spankings that I got was
Mhm.
because my mom had forbidden me to go see Purple Rain, and I talked my
Oh,
uncle into taking me. I was like the world's biggest Prince fan. So
yeah.
I always was super into Prince, Michael Jackson, and my stepdad. Um, he was very musical. He played the piano and he was into like Cool in the Gang, and that's kind of how we connected, was like really on music. He was into like Phil Collins and Genesis and all that. So like as a
Mhm.
little kid, I really was like very aware of music,
Yeah.
but that wasn't ever like my goal. Like I love to read, so I knew that writing was possibly a
Mhm.
job that I was interested in. I also loved animals. Sorry, I have to
Oh,
cough. It's not COVID, guys.
wow. I know it's so scary to call.
Yeah. Yeah, I also loved animals. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll be a veterinarian. And when I went to NYU, I went there and I was super into writing poetry and stuff. But same thing, like I said, I always thought, oh, they don't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I interned in like publicity and different things and didn't love it. I ended up my senior year of college, I started taking writing classes, and everyone in the classes was like, you're amazing at this. Like, this is what you're meant to do.
Mhm.
And that's when I gained the confidence where I was like, okay, writing is what I should do. So, literally, my last year of college, I was like, well, I'm not ready to go out into the workforce yet. Let me go back to grad school. I'll get
Yeah.
a MFA. And that's how I ended up going to NYU for grad school too and getting a master's degree. And I have cousins who are all, very, like established professionals, like
Mhm.
lawyers and engineers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And they all told me like that if you're a good student, it's best if you just go straight through, because then you don't have that. It's kind of a hardship to like leave
Yeah.
college,
Going through that right
take
now.
that break and work and then trying to
Mhm.
take classes at the same time. So
Yeah.
they were like, if you're able to just go straight through, go straight through. So I ended up getting admitted into NYU. And I will say, everyone told me like, there's really no guarantee that getting this degree is going to get you a book deal or any of that. So don't take on any additional debt. So to avoid taking on additional debt, I actually um, got a job working for NYU. Like I
Okay.
really networked my butt off the summer before I started school. I made friends with the HR manager at my undergrad job had been working at the business school in their computer
Mhm.
labs. So like
Mhm.
as soon as I graduated
Oh, no.
for job at the business school and got in good with the HR woman, and I was like literally emailing her, calling her once a week, do you have anything? And I had like a little salary, minimum that I
Mhm.
wanted. And she found me something by like August. I started my first semester, the tuition reimbursement didn't apply yet, but I had a scholarship for
Mhm.
the first semester. Like I had
Mhm.
like a small stipend that covered that semester. So I was able to get a
Yeah.
grad degree with no debt. So I'm very grateful for that. I do
Wow.
still have student loans that I'm paying off from
Mhm.
undergrad, but to
Mhm.
have the master's
Mhm.
degree, and I haven't really used it, but it was, I mean, I would just say school in general, um, and most of, your peers probably know this too, like networking in school is so vital. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
ironically, one of the other students in my MFA program, his name is Ben Rhodes. If you look him up, he worked for Obama. Like his first job out of grad school was writing speeches for Obama when he was still a senator, and he ended up
Mhm.
going to the White House with him, and he got like, he like literally, if you turn on MSNBC, he's on there like 3 or 4 times a week. So,
Wow.
you know, I will say that has helped me in my career because a lot of times when I need to reach out to someone for an interview, I'm like, oh, I know their
Mhm.
A&R, I know their manager, I know this, and it's literally because of like coming up together in either living in New York or
Right.
going to NYU, or they're a friend of a friend. It's like you really
Mhm.
find that the Black professional world is so small, like
Mhm.
it's literally like a
Yeah.
degree. Like
Yeah.
people always talk about Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of separation or whatever.
Definitely.
For the
Everybody
Black
knows
world, it's not
somebody.
even that. It's like 1 or 2 degrees of separation.
Mhm.
You literally, everybody knows each other.
Yeah, and it's really important to, as much as people want to work up and meet this person who they think can expand their
That
career and
peer
give them
to
an
peer.
opportunity, working lateral has opened a lot of doors for a lot of people because you never know who right beside you is going to be the next person that can give you an
Exactly.
opportunity. Hmm.
Exactly. Like I said, Rashawn Hall,
Yeah.
literally someone that I met in college. I think like when he was already working, maybe, I don't remember which job he was working for. Because I had been working at the business school, I was working in their career development office, and he had sent like out a group text to different people that we went to college with, like I need help resume writing, and I was like, oh, I can help you with that. So I wrote his resume, and that's how he knew like that I wanted to write.
Hmm.
And because we had that relationship, not to say like I didn't earn the
Right.
position, but like it just kind of lets people know like that you're reliable. You get that
Hmm.
firsthand experience where someone's like, I've seen firsthand what they can do. So
Right.
when it comes time to go do the job, I know that that person can do it. And then you're not so much going into like interviews like cold, not knowing the culture or
Hmm.
who people are, any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And talking about your journey through music journalism specifically, I remember back in the day, blogs were, it was like artists had a lot of issues sometimes with blogs. And now it's changed a lot where blogs are just the news media. It's not even blogging anymore. It's like a news outlet. It's
Yeah.
leveraged so much. So how did you maintain like a good relationship and rapport with people throughout the industry, even though you kind of had to blog about them?
So initially, I wasn't really blogging. It was straight up journalism. I writing for SOHH. I was doing a lot of like news reporting. So literally, like I was talking to lawyers. I was looking at court cases. I was interviewing the artist, interviewing the producer,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
get a reputation. It's not that many people that are doing it, so people start to know
Right.
like after you do the interview, and a lot of it is like the way the blogs have such a bad name because a lot of times they'll kind of flip things. So like you might say something and instead of like the full quote being in the headline, it's like part of the quote. Um and that's misleading. So that's
Right.
why
Right.
blogs have a bad name, but because I was really coming from a journalist perspective, I got a reputation for being fair. So even when I got the job working for Bossip, it was 2009. I
Okay.
had been writing professionally since 2004. So I had 5 years under my belt, and literally, even to this day, people will tell me like, I knew I could come bring my artists to Bossip because of you. Like I trusted you. So it wasn't necessarily, oh, we're taking you to this blog. It would be like, we're gonna take you to Janee. She's gonna take care of
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think it was hard for me because even when that word blogger came out, I didn't really like to use it to describe what I did. Like I look at myself as a writer. I don't really confine myself to being a journalist or being a
Mhm.
blogger. I
Mhm.
look at it as all encompassing because I've done all kinds of writing. I want to eventually also write screenplays. I've always wanted to songwrite. At heart, I'm a poet. That was like my first love was
Yeah.
writing poetry. So to call me a blogger, I feel is a misnomer. And
Mhm.
I don't like if anyone says it to me, I'm not like offended.
Right.
But when someone says blogger, I think of
The
something
connotations that
else. I
come with
think
it.
of
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. And how much has changed in news media since 2009 when you got with Fawcett?
Whoo!
Instagram has come out, Twitter's out,
Yeah.
everybody, there's a lot of different outlets now. How has that journey changed for you specifically?
Well, it's changed. I mean, it's definitely changed a lot. Like even today, we were talking about some of the stories on Black Twitter, like people talking about um, like why isn't the Black media talking about this or talking about that?
Mhm.
But one thing that has changed is like there was a time where it was like a free for all, and like nobody was safe. Like anybody could talk about anything. Excuse me, like legal wise, that has stopped. Like people really have to be more careful. I remember there was a time when you were blogging, you would just like Google images for pictures, and you would just take whatever picture you
Yeah,
found on
I used
Google
to do that.
Images.
Mhm.
You can't do that
Oh,
because once
wow.
your blog becomes profitable, the photographer can come after you, and it's
Wow.
really expensive. It's like 10,000 per image if you do
Y'all
that. So
remember
like
that. Remember that because I
so
did
it's
not
like I
know.
would say for any blogger, like definitely invest in some kind of um photo agency account, whether
Mhm.
it's Getty Images, which is kind of expensive, or you could
Right.
do something like a little cheaper. I think Shutterstock, like there's a few different places where you can get
Can
like,
you pull off of Instagram photos?
I'm sorry,
Can you pull off of people's Instagram? Like I
you're
know a
not
lot of times.
supposed to. Like if you like write them or DM them and get permission, then you can do that. But even then, it's very touchy. Like anyone could just decide like, hey, that I own this image. And the problem too is a lot of times people might be posting professional photos. So, you still have to get their photographer's permission. Just having the permission of the person isn't even enough. Yeah. Someone's saying get a release form. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
good to have a release form. That's when you do interviews too. You
Mhm.
want people to sign waivers to show that you have permission to use their words, use their image and their likeness. All of these things are really important, and I think going in, people don't know about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, thank you for teaching me because I will pull and post really quick.
Yeah, you'll get hit with the copyright or the DMCA takedown. Like
Mhm.
it's a lot, and even when it comes to reporting, it's very important that unless you have evidence and proof, you have to say alleged or
Budget.
so and so claims or so and so says. There's
Mhm.
just a lot more to it than just straight up saying like, well, the streets are talking and they said blah blah blah. And you can get away with it when that's why you see like so many Instagram sites or whatever popping up, and they are
Right.
reporting on, they're like sharing screenshots and all those kind
Mhm.
of things.
Mhm.
But you'll find that the more professional sites do not do that, because
Yeah.
you can get into legal trouble. And really, the other thing is, just as when celebrities, as they get more famous and make more money, they're more subject to lawsuits. the same thing goes for the media. As the media gets, more prominence, and they know like an organization might actually have a good amount of
Yeah.
money that they can afford to pay out a $10,000 lawsuit, some of the time you're going to get these petty claims. So just things to think about.
Yeah, and I know that you actually have expanded your content from the print or the digital media. It's more digital media now. So can you tell me a little bit more about the A Room show and other things that you have
Sure.
going on?
Yeah. So, well, the first thing that I would say is I've always worked in digital media, having written, started with like SOHH and this other site called Dope Magazine and a few other sites. Mostly, a lot of my writing was online. And then I did do a lot of print writing for the
Mhm.
Source Magazine and Double XL Magazine.
Super dope.
And I've also written for Variety Magazine
Wow.
and
Okay, credit.
Vibe, a few different places. Yeah. But now podcasting is really
Yeah.
big. I think I've I think for a while I like being behind the scenes. There are some people who are bloggers who they are the personality. I think I'm
Mhm.
more of someone who kind of likes to play in the background, and like my best friend is Angela Yee, so
Love Angela
she
Yee.
has a huge, persona and a
Mhm.
following. And sometimes I see the negative side of it, so I think
Yeah.
I always kind of like shy away from getting too much attention because um, people see me as an extrovert, but I'm actually very introverted. So it can be a lot for me, like to do that. So even with the A room, that's kind of part of me stepping out and just being
Mhm.
more open about doing things that are separate from gossip and not just being behind a
Right.
masthead. And the other part of it is it just feels right. And I feel like that's something that we as professionals all have to really pay attention to. Like, a lot of things are about money, but things are also about like what feels right and what your
Right.
intuition tells you. So in the case of the A room, that's actually been a long time coming because um, Needles, who's a producer, he and I both we went to NYU at the same time.
Yep.
So I've known
Connections.
him for yeah, I've known him
Yeah.
for a long time. I didn't know him as well in college. I really met him more like since I moved to Atlanta.
Mhm.
And at one of the BMI awards, I ended up sitting with him and Rocky Richwater, who's also on the A Room show, and Willie Donut, who's another producer. He produced Jeremiah's Week, and we were all sitting together, and I knew Needles, but it was my first time kind of meeting them. And from there they just started regularly saying, hey, pull up at this session, come to this session.
Mhm.
And as a writer, you get invited to the studio like a good little bit, but it's also
Yeah.
very sensitive because things happen in the studio and then they
Mhm.
don't want you to report about it. So like
Yep.
I always have to kind of like tread lightly when it comes to studio stuff.
Mhm.
But
I
I
used to get
always
my phone taken away. So.
yeah, I mean, that's not uncommon. Like,
Yeah.
you have to sign an NDA or you get your phone, you
Mhm.
leave your phone or whatever. So Needles is similar to me, like much more of like let the work talk for you,
Right.
not be kind of in the forefront or in the public all the time. But he and I both kind of have been saying, like, listen, we need to push ourselves more, so because there's other opportunities. Like I said, even with networking, if you don't let people know, hey, I'm doing this,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
people aren't going to know. And the problem now is because of the way social media is set up, there's so many people who are not legit, who are doing things, and the public thinks, oh wow, this person
Yeah.
is doing so much, look at you,
Yeah.
she's doing
Yeah.
this and she's doing that, when in reality, like, there's people who are really putting in the work, but they're not getting the attention because they're not talking about it. So
Mhm.
it was like twofold. Needles wanted to do something. He was most comfortable, I think, with me as far as
Mhm.
having a journalist involved with the show. And I think for me, it went the same way, where when I'm in the studio, I know a ton of producers. I have great relationships with producers, DJs, all of that. But it really was almost like more of a family vibe because I've known them so long. I've been around their families and stuff like that. So like stepping into like into 2019, 2020, as I said, I'm looking to grow.
Right.
You know, you look around and you're like, who do you want to grow with?
Right.
And you see people who are positive, who are like family oriented, they're grounded in spirituality. And the A room for me, that's really what it stood for. So the show's great. If people haven't checked it out,
Yeah.
you can find a lot of links on my page. But usually we interview a producer or have like a producer guest host every week. We've also had Angela was a guest before. We'll have some other guests as well, and it's a lot of fun. We play games. We talk about current events, things that are important for the industry, things going on in technology, things going on with the music business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great resource because things are changing so quickly.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot more to this business than just gossip or, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up, that it's so much more than gossip, especially now that artists and the people reporting on the news, the producers, everybody has their own platform now. So now we don't just see the rapper. We know about their crews, we know about the people reporting on them,
Yeah.
learning what it's like to be a publicist, what it's like to work in marketing, what it's like to be an A&R. And I'm glad that people are now seeing that there's so much more you can do, not even just in music, but entertainment, sports in general, that is that's not just being an artist. Because I remember
Yeah.
when I was younger, I always knew I wanted to be in music or work in the music industry, but I couldn't sing. So then I realized, okay, I love
But
marketing.
there's so many other jobs than singing. And
Yeah.
even I think for me, for women, the work that I've been doing with A3C for the past 5 years has been about showing that when it comes to jobs in the entertainment industry, there's more than being a publicist or an assistant or a lawyer, an entertainment lawyer. There's so many different
Mm-hmm.
jobs that are available that you see women in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's
Yeah,
the great thing about it's really our era. It's a great time to be
definitely.
a woman, and I'm happy to help however I can. I was really excited that you invited me to do this, and it was great connecting with the organization through the Earth Girl platform as well. So that's another
Yes,
shout
love
out to
Molly.
Molly for sure.
Yes, we love Molly. And, the Spelman College Women in Hip Hop Collective, it's a newer organization on campus. I think it had got to Spelman like my freshman year. And it was really important for me to see other young women like myself breaking into the industry, doing things. So, how have you tried to like pay it forward? Or what has your experience been like for as being a Black woman that you can kind of impart to some of us?
Well, I think in a lot of different ways, like the panels for A3C has been one way. I've done those panels for the last 5 years. I've also done panels at South by Southwest and a few other places. So that's one way. I think another thing, I've done a lot of mentoring, but I think
Mhm.
that has to be really organic. Like I've definitely had people say like, I want you to be my mentor, and like they literally it has to be a two-way street. Like I
Yeah.
can't do everything for you. Like I feel like a certain amount of work has to be done on both sides. So that has um gone a lot of different ways, but also like I typically, if I have a mentee, they become my sister. So it's really
Mhm.
more of a sisterhood. And if I know someone wants an opportunity, like a lot of times I'm big on connecting. People know me for, like connect me with this or connect me with that. So whether it's Rachel Jackson or Anissa
Yeah, love
Brene,
her. Yeah.
or Sammy Approved,
Mhm.
these are all people who I've worked with in some capacity as like a mentor mentee relationship, and I'm really proud of all of them and everything that they've achieved. So I think that's another way that I've paved it forward. I'm just continuing. I really try to do my best and not just be a positive person and carry that good energy, and
Right.
like
Right.
um just let people know like you don't have to be messy to be successful, and you also don't have to push someone else out the way for your opportunity. Like every opportunity isn't meant for you. You know, you have to
Mm-hmm.
sometimes say, like, I'm happy for her to see her
Right.
doing, like, there's a lot of things that I know might not particularly be my strength. So I'm happy to see someone else shine in
Mm-hmm.
that way. And
Mm-hmm.
then I also know, like, when it comes to be my time, that time will
Mm-hmm.
come, you know. And I'm very big. I'm not like a person that goes to church every week, but I'm really
Yeah.
big on God's timing is perfect timing. So
Yes.
that's something I tell myself all the time, because I think it's hard when we live in this social media era and people look on Instagram and you see people and you're like, oh my God, they have 10,000 followers, or
Yeah,
they
that it all
have like
happens so quick.
6,000 likes, or like you see someone and they're wearing a bikini or whatever. And it kind of makes you insecure, like, oh, I need to be doing this or I need to be
Right.
doing that for followers. And I think that can be really misleading. And it goes back to what I was saying, where sometimes people miss the real work that's happening because they're so caught up in who's looking, who's watching, you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think that sometimes with I'll say my culture in general, we are a microwavable culture. I don't know if it's because we grew up with a really fast, like social media, digital
Yeah.
media world, but sometimes I have to remind myself, like, you're still young, you're still
Yes, patience.
just getting started. There's a lot still left, a lot of life to still live, but a lot of times we want it quick and we're willing to work hard. But I know what you mean. It's like you see people, and a lot of times we don't see the grind that goes
You
before
definitely don't.
everything that
Yeah.
people get. Like you just see someone have all these followers all of a sudden, but they could have been in the industry for 20, 30 years, and you just don't know.
Well, look at Be Nice, for example. Like, he
Mhm.
literally has been working really hard for years. And not that he wasn't already successful, he
Yeah.
was very successful. However, just in the last 2 months, to go from, what did he have?
Yeah.
Like,
200,000 followers.
and to go to over a million, like
Mhm.
literally in one weekend. In one weekend, he grew by what's that, 800% or
Yeah.
something like. So I think the thing is, you never know when you're going to have, I think, but part of it too is just doing the work so that when your
Right.
time comes, you're prepared and you're
Right.
ready. So it's not like he was playing some completely brand new set that got him
Mhm.
800,000 new followers.
Mhm.
He had been putting in the work to,
Yeah.
like,
Presentation, delivery, his setup, all of that stuff is stuff that he did prior to getting on a platform like this. So there's
yep,
a way, and I also too think that sometimes the way you get blessed will surprise you because
yep.
you can already feel like you're super duper successful, and then there could be something right around the corner that, something like COVID-19 will provide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of COVID-19, how has the entertainment industry changed in your opinion, or how do you think things will go moving forward because of the
Wow.
virus?
It's going to be really interesting to see. I have no idea, because honestly, so much of my job was concerts, festivals,
Yeah.
movies, movie premieres. Like, I don't even know if we'll be able to go to movie theater. I know they reopened in Georgia, but I'm not sure. I know AMC isn't
I'm not going,
reopened.
so it's
Yeah.
open all day.
So I think, honestly, I think it'll be 2 years of adjusting. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
anything is going to happen quickly. I think it's going to take some time. I think all of these festivals are going to have to um organize. It's I think I do it is great to see people pivoting and
Mhm.
doing, like, more lives and doing webinars, things like that. But things are just going to change. A lot of my job, I literally have never I don't think I've ever been home for so long, like, without getting on a
Yeah.
plane. Like, literally, my dog is like, like, really, you're gonna walk me twice a day? Like, I know he's so
Yeah.
confused about what's going on, and for me, that's been a difficult adjustment, because so much of my job was like flying places to interview people or flying places to cover events, and that has changed. I mean, I think we're going to see job descriptions change. I think there's going to be whole new departments and divisions because so much is digital now because of what's going on.
Yeah. We don't
I
know
mean,
how long that could last.
we have no idea how long it's going to last, but and it also will be interesting to see, like, it's funny because I feel like last year what we saw with Beyonce with Coachella,
Yeah.
and people really tuning into Coachella like online, was
Hmm.
like a big indicator of what it could be like. And
Yeah,
even
the
same thing
national
with D
feel.
Nice, but I think that there's no guarantee that people are going to come to festivals in that way
Hmm.
unless it's really like,
And if
um
they're gonna be able to make the same amount of money off of it.
right.
Because I'm
But
wondering how are they gonna monetize? I love
yeah, but you
quarantine radio because it's free.
right. Well, but then you look at like Erica Badu, she's doing the concert, she charges, it's a low amount of money per person, but she at the end of the day still is still making a good amount of money. And then even like D Nice, if you think about the fact if he had 100,000 people and a live, and imagine that 20
Hmm.
people, I mean, or everybody gives him $20 tip.
Right. Yeah.
That's why like when I go on a DJ live, especially for my local DJs and the DJs who I know have families, I'm tipping $20 every time
Hmm.
because literally like these are people who went from making 10,000 a gig and they have families and kids to support, and now it's like they're dependent on these tips
Large.
and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah. But
So
I guess the good thing is a lot of the major companies that do the endorsements and sponsorships are reaching out to both influencers, the bigger macro influencers and micro influencers. So I think that if all of us kind of who already kind of adjusted to digital media, but further remain innovative and find new ways to do things, and we would be fine. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I mean we're gonna be fine regardless. Just it like that's the thing about, if you believe in Darwinism, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you're gonna adapt or you're
Hmm.
not gonna last,
Yeah.
so I think it's really like we're in a state of survival of the fittest, and it's sad to say and to see, but even when they were talking about the way the disease attacks people who have pre-existing conditions, it's very sad. And I think the interesting thing is just like change comes in unexpected ways. So are so many industries will be shifting from this. The medical industry, the entertainment industry is just one of them, and to be honest with you, I've actually never been busier. Like the difference is I was busier in a different way before, where I was like physically having to get up and move and go to
Hmm.
events or get on flights or go to different
Hmm.
cities, whereas now I'm literally like I have to pick and choose, like am I going to go on this Zoom, am I going to do this, you know, but I've been doing interviews nonstop since this has
Yeah.
started because
Yeah. In a way,
a
we're
lot of
more connected.
the way the studios have responded has been like literally, can you do a phoner with the talent? Can you do a IG live with the talent? Can you do a Zoom with the talent? And it's been nonstop. You see a lot of the movie studios are shifting and they're doing like the theatrical releases onto digital instead.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'm literally like inundated with binge lists and new content and new TV
Yeah.
shows and new films where things might have been pushed back, but because
Yeah.
of this going on, everyone's like, we need content, we need it now, we're pushing it out. So like I know right now Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, they're all seeing huge returns on this. I'm interested in, for example, Travis Scott, what he just did last week with his listening with the gaming company that he worked with. They're
Hmm.
making money. They had more people than ever
Hmm.
join that. So
Hmm.
um, it's interesting. Like the people who are pivoting, they're making more than they've ever made before, and the people who are not
Yeah.
pivoting, we're suffering and will continue to suffer until we figure out how
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
how to make do or how to compromise.
And I'm really appreciative of the fact that I see a lot more of our culture and the people who are the leaders of the culture, like Black people, people, women of color, like us, are getting our due recognition because we have such a voice. And I feel like a lot of times our voice has gotten muffled through
Right.
just the sponsorships or the bigger media or what they could do. But now I feel like a lot of people are seeing that it's the Black content that's trending. It's the media from Black artists. It's people like D Nice who have been so central to hip hop culture that's able to get so many different people from so many different communities around the world, gravitating towards us. Even if you think about like Megan the Stallion and how she came out with Beyonce today and how
Yeah,
she took over TikTok, which was an app created in China. I love the fact that through the digital media world, Black women are really being amplified and we have a voice and we're being seen as being worth way more.
I agree.
Yeah. So I know we talked about the importance of branding, and I did not want to end this without bringing up Curl Mob because that was a
Okay.
big
Like,
part of
shout
the
out to
Girl
Curl Mob.
ATL. And, when I got to learn about you, the person, outside of just, social media and digital media and all that. But I love the fact that you are promoting women of color and our textures of hair and feeling beautiful. So can you just talk about Girl Mob real quick?
So Curl Mob, it really is. It's a as a company, I established it in 2017, but it was a hashtag I was using for the longest time. Because a lot of my friends are also curly, so like we would take pictures and I would just hashtag it Curl Mob.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really known for my hair. Like people will always tell me, like I can always find you from your fro,
Yeah.
your and I think it's really rooted in a lot of different things, but starting from my teenage years, growing up in Iowa was really difficult. There literally was no Black hairstylist. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I was straightening my hair all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it was for acceptance because
Yeah.
I was around literally 99% white people. The standard of beauty was very like
Mm-hmm.
much European. And I think that I was really insecure and I really didn't feel beautiful until I moved to New York and I no longer had my mom to press my hair out every two
Yeah.
weeks. So I was like, let's see what this wash and go does. And people loved it and I felt really confident in just being my full self. And I think as I became more of a public figure, um, everyone's like, you should, you have to do something to brand yourself. You should create a company. And I was like, well, I think the thing that was most important to me is not in a superficial way at all. It's all just about positivity, but also because when I started Curl Mob, it wasn't about just me. It was about my my group, my friends, my community. And I've always felt that like women as a collective are so much more beautiful in the company of other women. Like
Mm-hmm.
you like I don't know about you, but when you're out with your friends, don't you feel like you get more attention
Yes.
when it's
Yes.
like a bunch of you and like you're
Yes.
all being positive to each other, you're not being catty, you're being
Mm-hmm.
so that's really what it's all about. It's some of it is about hair and some of it is really just about sisterhood and like really just embracing each other, accepting each other and like knowing like my hair texture is different than your hair texture, but also that you can just be true to you and what God gave you and you don't have to like put a wig on or put a weave on. But if you do, that's fine too. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
still can be Curl Mob as long as you're part of, you're really have an attitude of
Right.
sisterhood. And I also just wanted to encourage people just to like be open to that texture because I think we live in a society that really tries to teach us that we're less than, Black women
Mm-hmm.
are, often it's like we're not looked at as what's beautiful. We're not picked for, whether it's these shows like The Bachelor or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
pageants, which that has changed obviously in the last year because we had 4
Yeah.
Black women who were beauty queens. But for the longest time, we were not consider what's beautiful. So it's really about uplifting who we are at our roots, like our natural roots, and not having to change that at all for anyone, just showing how beautiful we can be in our natural essence. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all of those things. It encompasses all of those things. And for me, it was always kind of about like creating apparel that you just literally are projecting. Like, I'm proud of my curls, I'm proud of my texture,
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud to be a Black woman,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I think that um it's open for all colors, all women, but and it's really just about
Yeah.
the attitude,
Mm-hmm.
having a
Mm-hmm.
positive
Yeah, and I think
attitude.
going with confidence. I was talking to someone yesterday and she told me you can have all of these skills and all of these things, but if you don't show up confidently and boldly and knowing who you are, then that can hurt you in the long run. So I just commend you on, telling women,
Yeah.
encouraging women to love yourself, to go confidently, to feel beautiful both inside and outside is super important.
Thank you. And I mean, I just think that's a journey. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's hard for everybody. Like, whether even, I mean, right now, I think just life in general is hard for everybody. Like, some days you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna feel your best, and other days, like it's not gonna be hard at all. You're gonna wake up and you're gonna be in a great mood. But I think that confidence is something that no one else can take away from you. It's something, if you have it, it's your armor, and it doesn't matter who tries to take that away. I think self-love is just really vital.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So, last but not least, I'd love to ask this question. What advice would you give to younger students or students of the game like myself at this age going forward in the industry or whatever creative industry that they want to go into, especially during times like this when we might not be as mentally motivated as we would be, with graduation season?
I think that that's a tough question, but the main thing that I would say is to do the work, and then also, but also not to be so hard on yourself. I think everyone can be really, we live in this very competitive society, and like I said, people are constantly comparing each other, or comparing themselves to other people. And I think really what's key is to um, just keep that tunnel vision where you're never looking to your right or your left and comparing what other people are doing. And that goes back to what you were saying about not knowing what someone else's journey is. But I think no matter
Yeah.
what you do, you still need to know your craft, study your craft, constantly be working on your craft. Like, if you want to do something, you should be
Mhm.
doing at least one thing a day that is going towards that. Because I know, even how I was saying I had my plan A and plan B, sometimes you're caught up in your day job, you're not able to fully pursue what your passion is.
Yeah.
But if you can just take that time to do one thing a day, um it will help you, and you
Mhm.
never know how it's gonna pay off later. There's so many things where I feel like show up later in life, where you're like, you never thought that moment was going to be useful. Or even when it comes to relationships, how
Yeah.
people sometimes will treat people a certain way because they think, oh, that person can't help me. But later on, you come to find out the person
Mhm.
who you least expected to have your back is there because of some small thing that you did when you
Yeah.
didn't even think that they were doing anything for you. So I would say, always, just do things for the right reasons. Don't be motivated by advancement, because you never know how it's going to pay off. And other than that, all you can do is really focus on yourself and make sure that you're doing your part. I think people
Mhm.
get very caught up in not wanting to have someone take their credit or whatever else. But if you keep doing what you're doing, people are
Right.
going to notice.
Right. It's good to stay in your lane. And even if people aren't appreciative of what you're doing or if they're not noticing or being attracted to it at first, that's still good practice. It's still knowledge and stuff that you learn for yourself, and you don't know, it might be 2 likes on a post or something like that, but that those 2 likes could be one view from the right person. So I
Right.
think I thank you for like letting us know that stay consistent and keep going, stay motivated, because you never know who's watching or who could help you in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us.
You're so
I had a
welcome.
great time.
Yes, and hopefully we'll be able to go outside again soon.
Yes, and we can all meet and hug in
And
person
connect. Yes.
and do what we did at the Earth Girl Festival. I need that.
Yes.
I need that again. So I'm gonna hit up Molly and tell her as soon as this is over, I need
Yes.
another Earth Girl reunion.
Yes, indeed.
All right, well, I'm going to save this live and I'm going to upload it and we're going to make sure we share it and
Okay,
definitely
perfect.
stay in touch with us, the Women in Hip Hop Collective. We want to do a lot in the fall if things permit us to go back to school. So we will definitely be in touch with you, and we thank you so
Sounds
much for
good.
sharing your knowledge and information with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me on. Thanks.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, bye-bye.